Hey guys, thanks for joining. I am going to get started here right now. Going to do a quick market review and show you a couple of setups I've been looking at. Going into London Open here, and we'll see how they pan out. Not going to stick around for too long. I want to keep this fairly short and sweet because I'm sure we all have things to do, and I don't want to keep you from what you're doing. So we're just going to start with the news quick. Lots of cable news coming out. Lots of pound sterling news at 4:30 a.m. New York time. So coming out here in about 3.5 hours from now, a little under 3.5 hours from now. Starting with the GDP, manufacturing production, and goods trade balance. So we're going to be watching for the pound dollar to start making some moves. I'll talk about that here in a few minutes, and then the short half an hour after that comes out. We have some medium impact euro news, some German economic state sentiments coming out. So I don't imagine we'll see too much fluctuation with the euro. More so probably into Wednesday we might see some movement and a little bit of volatility with Draghi speaking on Wednesday, and then we have a whole bunch or a couple of medium impact news events for the US dollar at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and then Canadian dollar, lots of stuff going on with the Canadian dollar, so we're going to see lots of movement there, and then coupled with crude oil inventories, and then a Bank of Canada press conference at 11:15 a.m. on Wednesday. So could be some good movement in the pound dollar today, and then Wednesday we could see some real movement in the Canadian dollar, so we'll definitely look at that. And then Thursday, going down the list here, we'll have some more medium impact news for the pound sterling. Monetary policy meeting accounts with the euro on late in the day. That's more for New York Open on Thursday, so we could see some late day movement, early New York Open movement for the euro. And then again, Canadian dollar and US CPI and core CPI news coming out at 8:30, the regular scheduled time for Thursday. So could be a good movement week. And again, we're going to be starting with a pound dollar. So I'm just going to flip the charts on here, and we're going to get rolling. So you can see here that US dollars made a nice run up, and since then we've just been consolidating, and consolidation started pretty much on well, really the end of May, and then going into the start of June. It's been going basically straight sideways until now. Monday came down, yesterday's candle came down, created a low. Now I'm just going to switch over to another chart because I find that this you see how price came into this consolidation area right in here. I've got it highlighted with this blue rectangle. See how price came all the way down from the tops of these candles, wicked all the way down to the bottom of this trading range here. I find this to actually be a bit inaccurate. I think that this one is a little more accurate, and you see how price came down and slammed into these levels here and rejected, and so far we've been trading higher. A little more accurate on this one here. So I'm just going to do some real brief analysis. It's pretty much the same thing. Like we're trading at 93.90 right now, 93.89. So it's only off by about a pip, but just more so the market structure and where the price actually started and finished. It's a little more conducive to this trading rate here. So I was talking. I don't know if you guys caught it. I did a pre-recorded session on Monday, yesterday, and if I can get this line here, it's kind of driving me crazy. Come on, give me that line. Sorry guys, love MT4 sometimes. Not going to give it to me. No. One second. Apologies. There we go. Okay. So if you saw the pre-recorded session, I had talked about a couple of levels here. One at the 94 big figure level, I was predicting, it's pretty much from 93.90 now to about the 94 level. I'm predicting a bit of a bounce in this area to act as resistance. If that level breaks, then my eyes will go to this 94.40 level up here, and from there If we don't see any resistance, then price will start to run for these equal highs up in here, relatively equal highs up here, and then potentially, I think, a much higher bullish move will ensue up to the 96 level. You know, again, could be long term, could be short term, I don't know, but we're going to pretty much find out this week. So if this was the low, they wanted to run and come down and grab some stops, and this flip back over this chart here, a little more conducive to the actual price action that I'm talking about. How price came down, slammed into this area right here, and so far it's rejected. I want to see if price has any willingness to go above that 94.40 level. I think, however, though, we'll probably see price start to roll over, and I'm betting on, not betting, but I'm anticipating it happening during London here. I think we're pretty much going to be reaching into our highs right here, and I think we'll probably see price start to roll over, and I think we may see this continue down. The US dollar is hitting a seasonal patch of bearishness, and this could just be the start. You see this downtrend here the past week and a half of trading. I think this could be the start, and they've come up here. You know, they ran the highs here once and twice, and these are relatively equal highs here. There was, I mean, on this feed on here anyway, I know other people's charts probably a little more closer to equal, but you can see here the high comes in at 95.19, and then this high here comes in at 95.22. So it got by about 2 pips around the high. For all intents and purposes, for what I'm looking at, though, equal highs, that would be a target on the upside where price, eventually it will go. It's not a if, it will go up there again. But momentarily, short term, you know, for the rest of July and maybe even into August for this summer seasonality shift that I think is going to be occurring, we could see the market start to run down, and I'm expecting these lows here, and again, relatively equal lows compared to the chart. I would expect those lows to get run to the downside. And then from there, and this move down here probably wouldn't take that long. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if we even saw this come out and price, you know, sitting sort of down in this area by the end of the week or early into next week. And then from here, again, there's if I can grab another level here, there's another couple that sets equal lows right under here, and I've marked this out before. And this could be another area where they may want to run price if they decide to go bearish enough on this. But I think short term we could see some downside momentum. I've been talking about this for a while now. This isn't anything new. You know, I believe long term, like I was saying, you know, we will go up, and ultimately, and I think the first stop in that that area going up would be up into this level here. But before we get there, and that could be more so into the fall and winter months, that when that pans out. But I think for now, I think we're going to see a move to the downside. You know, it may not be too significant. I don't know that we're going to come all the way back down to these to this old consolidation level. But price does tend to trade from consolidation to consolidation, like here, you know, down to here. You know, we retraded from this consolidation down, and we're back up into it again. I'm thinking we'll probably see a bounce at this level, though, to the downside. So we'll see what happens. I think that's pretty much this London session is going to be it. We may see a pop above here. If we do see a pop above, like I say, I'm going to be watching for any resistance in this area to happen. If we start breaking through this level here, and then this level here, and so on and so forth, then I'll be looking for that 94.40 level to start acting as any type of resistance on the upside. And if that level gets broken, well, then we will run those highs, as I mentioned before. So I'll be watching that level. Switching back charts here, I'm just going to discuss the euro real quick. So if we are short-term bearish on the dollar, we should be short-term bullish on the euro. Relatively equal highs up here at 1860, I believe price could stretch up to, and even higher. There's some levels over in here where I think they could run price above that 1880 just this week. And I was calling again for that video that I had did, the pre-recorded video yesterday. I had suggested that price would probably want to run down. So let me just, if I can do this here, might make things a little bit easier. So this was Monday's trading. I released the video, I believe, right around this time frame when the market was making its high just after the New York Open, and we started to see a bit of a down move. I had suggested that this area right down here, this 1725 level, 1720 to 1725 level, would probably offer some sort of support on the downside, and I didn't want to see price trade through the 1710 level. We're just slowly starting to come into that now. I would imagine we'll probably start to see some support as the US dollar is starting to see some resistance at this level here. This, well, it's basically these old lows in here, which come in at 93.85. We should start to see a low being generated in the euro, and then I would be looking for again for a nice run higher to cap off the week. So you know, the weekly range would probably look something similar to this into here, and then, you know, and obviously much higher, you know, going into Wednesday, and then Thursday. And this I'm just estimating. I don't know if this is actually going to do any of this, you know, this in here, but you kind of get the picture of what I'm driving at here, and then I move up into this 1860 level by, you know, Thursday or Friday. So that's sort of what I'm looking at on the upside for the Euro USD. And so far, we'll see what happens. We're coming in pretty close to that level. We're about 15, 16, 17 pips away from that that target level that I'm looking at, and we'll sort of wait and see how that goes. Probably may not move down into there for another hour or two, just sort of on the heels of that, oops, what did I just do there? Of that news release coming in here for about 5 a.m. New York time, which again is in about 3 hours from now, a little over 3 hours. So that's what I'm looking at there for the euro. Pound dollar, similar type of idea. Interesting price action here today. This one happened here again the same time the Euro USD was making this shorter run lower, which would be, you know, around 30-40 pips. The pound dollar was dropping much more significantly, about 150 pips. So definitely a big mover in the pound dollar here. And again, they came, so I'm just going to play this one out for you here real quick. I was calling for, again in that recording, a move back lower. They came down, they had a couple of equal lows in here that I was very interested to see them run. They came down and did that and just rejected immediately off of that, and didn't show a willingness to go any further than here. I think ultimately their target is on the buy side, and you know, just even coming up to the 134.70 level could be a good start to the week for the pound dollar, and that would be a good couple hundred pips away. So we could see a couple of good up days if we do see that rollover in the US dollar, as I was discussing earlier. So if we do see the high getting capped here into London and this starts to push down, we should see a move running higher in the pound dollar. So I'm hoping that price on the downside here won't want to get any lower than here. If price starts to take out this low here, I'm basically going to be watching price. So basically where it's at 132.35 down to these levels down here, which would be 132. So about 30 pips lower from now. If we don't see, if we start to see price slide to the downside, I'm going to be watching that level, that 132 big figure level, and see any willingness to go lower than that. I'm hoping this was the low here. If it was, then we should start to see price move higher respectively. So that's what I'll be watching going into that that news event here that I was discussing at 4:30 a.m. New York time. And I'm expecting it now. They may have already made that move lower into the buy zone, and they may not be coming down too much lower than this level here. If they do, like I say, those are the two levels I'm going to be watching, and not really the two levels. Let me actually do this a little bit better for you guys. So right about on these equal lows right here. And you can see the confluence in this area, that 13200 level. You know, how many times price has been working that exact level over the past little while, right? It came down here, reacted beautifully off of that 13200 level. Came down, traded through it a couple times here, traded straight through it there, back down, acted as support a couple times in that area, traded back up to it once, twice, acted as resistance 3 times, and then, I mean, just in here, you know, a couple of dozen times it was touching off that level, and then came down and ran through it one more time. So if they do want to run down, I'm going to be watching that level, and like I say, that's going to be sort of the level that I'll be watching for a reaction to happen. They could very well have come down and come down and want to retest that one more time. So I'm not necessarily going to be jumping into a long position yet on the pound dollar. And if we do see a move starting to run higher, we can easily get into that. I believe the weekly range, like I was saying to you, we could have a couple hundred pips on the weekly range that I'd be shooting for. So at the end of the day, I mean, if you know, if this is the low at 132.35 here, and we see price move above this consolidation area at and the highs at 132.60, and you know, maybe we get into 132.70. Well, we're only giving up about 30 pips on a 250 pip move. So I think at the end of the day, you know, it's not going to break anybody's account. It's always not working on confirmation, and that's typically how I trade it. Price has always got to come down and confirm the correct direction, and so I think that's what we're starting to get here. So I'm just going to wait and see if we get any continuation to the downside, and if it does, we'll be watching that 13200 level. And that's pretty much it about from the US dollar, the euro, and the pound. I'm going to flip the script here real quick, talk about the US CAD. As I was saying, this one is a ton of news events coming up. I believe it was on Wednesday. You can see all the Canadian dollar news in here for Wednesday. So I won't be touching this pair until tomorrow, and I think we could see some fairly big movements on this one here. Long term, I believe it will run higher, and we could get up into the 136.50 to 137 levels, which I've got kind of tagged up into this level here. I would imagine that this would be a very high level of attraction for price to want to run up to. So far, price came down, made a lower low, and it made a higher low, another higher low, and it's been making higher lows ever since. And this level in here, I'll just flip back to the daily. You can see this nice bull move in here. This is just a nice retrace down, and you know, expected retrace down. So just depending on what the US dollar wants to do, if it really wants to make a big breakdown, the US CAD should also be pushing down as well too. This trades in unison with the US dollar, so I wouldn't expect this thing to see much more upside for the short term. And let me clean this. You know what? Let me just clean this up here a little bit, just so it's not so. Okay. So a couple levels in here that I'll be watching. I don't believe price will run back up into here. This is a ways away as well too. You know, that's 132.60. I mean, that's, you know, 140 pips from here. I think personally that US CAD, it showed the upside here, and I think we're probably going to see further continuation to the downside. We may want to run up one more time into this small consolidation area in here and touch off of that again. It may not do it until Wednesday as well too. Price may sit here and just basically chop and trade sideways in here, and then make one quick run above these highs right in here. As you can see, these equal highs coming off of this last week's trading. They failed to go up and grab the stops there, so that would, to me, would make sense. And then basically turtle soup, and then a false move higher before the break lower, and then we would target you know, levels in and around here as a potential short-term intermediate target, and then potentially and I've been talking about this for a while. They've failed to come in and clean up any of the lows under here and any of the liquidity under here, And so there's a ton of stops resting under here and a ton of institutional orders sitting under these levels. We could very easily, if we do get a big enough break, we could very easily come in and trade underneath those guys there, and that would be a nice drop on the Canadian dollar. You know, it's got to get there first. That could be a long ways out. That may take the rest of the summer to do that. But if we do see a corresponding move in the U.S. dollar down into to run these lows in here, that could be the catalyst for what the U.S. CAD needs to at least get underneath these lows here. So we'll watch for that. That's what I'm anticipating. U.S. CAD though has shown a lot of strength to the upside. Some nice bullish movement in here, but I am expecting a little bit of a price retracement going into the rest of the week and potentially the rest of the month. So we'll watch for that, but I'll update you more again on that on Wednesday. Aussie dollar similar as the euro and cable. I'm expecting some strength in here. Price traded nicely out of this. I don't really want to talk about the Aussie too much. I was actually discussing exactly this move last week. We didn't quite get the run lower. Let me just clean this chart up here a bit. All this analysis I did last week here, and this is exactly played out right to script. I didn't, however, see a move as low as what I had wanted on the Aussie. I was hoping a return back to these levels, the tops of this consolidation level in here. Price didn't quite get down to it in here. I actually did the analysis as price was jamming down into here. I didn't quite get down there, and then we've seen a nice move up. So, you know, again, and so far it's just been chopping sideways for about the past a day or so. So if we do see the U.S. dollar release to the downside, then we'll see a corresponding move to the upside here. And we may even want to see price return back down a little bit more too on the Aussie. This might be stretching a little bit. Currently, that's 74.45. If I can get that level. No, I won't be able to get it exactly. Close enough. 74.45. So it's about 20, just a little under 20 pips lower from where it is right now. We could see this occur, and then this would be a nice area to get on a potential long if you are an Aussie trader. I'm not really going to be watching Aussie too much, so I won't be updating you guys again until probably Thursday on this trade. So I'll leave this up here for right now, and we'll see how that pans out. But really, guys, if at the end of the day, if the U.S. dollar does decide that this 94 level is going to be the high, and it comes in and puts that in, then all of these moves that I've been talking about, you know, Euro USD, you know, we'll see this, the pound dollar, same thing. Hopefully we're not going to get too much more downside on the pound dollar, but if we do, you know, we'll see this. And you know, US CAD, again, the exact opposite. So we would see, what I'm hoping to see on US CAD is this, like I was saying earlier, and then a rundown, and then Aussie dollar, obviously that's what you're getting there. So that's just my thoughts, and that's all hinges on what the US dollar is going to do, and if we're going to see that that movement. Now, with that news, I'm just going to talk about that real quickly. With this news, with the pound dollar coming up in a few hours, the GDP, manufacturing production, and goods trade balance, that is, we could get a little more volatility on the pound. So that's, as I say, hold off on putting an order in until you see that news event. If price starts rallying up, you know, out of control, and you know, don't jump in blindly on it. You definitely want to be buying on a down candle, but I don't want to buy it right now just because those news events, it could spike it lower, you know, 30, 40, 50 pips and easily stop you out. So just keep that in mind. That's why I'm going to elect to hold off on the pound for now. But I was just thinking that there in the back of my head. So I was talking about Aussie earlier, and then I'm just kind of skipping back and forth. Sorry, guys. So anyway, Aussie dollar, that's what I'm looking at to come to fruition, and I would suggest price really traded this range in here quite decently very, very well traded range, back and forth, up and down. Really worked that range quite heavily, and it traded briefly out of it, only to do a 1-2 almost double top, and then a run lower. And so on the upside, my eye would immediately basically go, and again, this is short term. You see these relatively equal highs right there? I would expect a run above those equal highs right there. See if I can zoom in just, there we go. That's a little bit easier to see. So I would expect a run up to those levels there. See those equal highs there? And if we do get maybe potentially a 20 pip run above these highs right into here, that could take us on the Aussie. That could potentially come out. Now again, guys, if you guys, just so you know, if you do get into a long position on these, you know, I'm assuming you're all trading in a demo account, and you know, you're not risking any live funds. And if you are trading in a demo account, I would highly suggest that you, once price, let's say price does come down to this entry level down here or there and abouts, I would suggest that you put a stop in, obviously 30 pips under market. So in this case, it would be at 47.15. I would even maybe say 74. I'm sorry, I'm reading my numbers wrong. Maybe even a little bit lower at 37.90. Sorry, 73.95. Just in case price did want to spike down a little bit lower. So that's about a 50 pip stop range. You know, lighten up your leverage, obviously, and as price comes up and starts to run through this consolidation area here, I would highly recommend you bring your stop up to break even, and then let the rest of the trade ride, and start taking some profits up at logical levels along the way. But that would be a nice trade. That's you know, that's about 100, just a little under 100, 200 pips move on the Australian dollar. That may take a little bit longer than a week. Sometimes the Aussie's a little bit slow moving. You know, case in point, you know, like last week, it was the entire weekly range was 133 pips. This range here was a little bit bigger. This one was just about 200 pips. So if we do have a big up week, that could be that target could get hit. It kind of falls within the weekly ATR of the a little bit above, sorry, the weekly ATR of the Aussie dollar. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking at for that. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. Crude oil. This one in here, I've talked about this a little bit. Price is really making some interesting runs here. You can see all of these highs, they're all coming in. See the candle high here, candle high, candle high, candle high, all in the 74.26 level. Let's see if I can pull up this level here. Yeah, high 74.40. I'm sorry. The close was 74.26. This wick high here actually was a little bit higher, 74.30. And this guy here, I'm just trying to find some confluence levels in here, because you can see what price is doing in here. It really seems like it's, and I don't want to suggest that this is resistance in here. We could see a big pop up. I mean, this could be working out to a big bull flag, right? I mean, this is the flagpole, and now it's just working on that flag right now, and we could see another big bullish pop to the upside. Typically moves like that would be equal in size and magnitude, and so we could see a run, you know, easily up into the $80 range if we do get a pop higher out of this level. You can see that it takes it right up into that $80 per barrel range. It's going to go there 100%. I guarantee you, $80. It's going to get there eventually. But I really, really want to see this thing retrace again. I was actually calling a big retracement back down in here, and I was hoping that price would have retraced just a little bit deeper down underneath these lows here. Didn't get it. Price actually moved right down to the 79% retracement level off of this, from this low to that high. came down perfectly to it, and then seeing a beautiful move higher on that. Nice explosive price action. And to be honest with you, if we do get another move back down, I would hope that they would at least come back to that 50% level, the 69.30 level, and if we do get a deeper one, maybe the 72 or even the 79% retracement level. I'd be looking for a move on crude. Really don't want to see it pop up yet. I don't want to miss this trade. If you miss it, I miss it. It's not a big deal. I'm not chasing anything, but I really want to see a move downwards on crude first before, and then a drive higher. So that's just what I'm looking at right now on crude oil. But I'm definitely not doing anything where it currently is at its in here. There's no way. There's nothing in here to see. Just tight, choppy action. If you're in here trading this, you're crazy, because there are far better opportunities in crude oil to trade. But I'd really love to see them come down one more time on crude. But you know what? That might be too easy. Look at this too. See how they came down here, put equal lows in right there, and price failed to get lower than that. I'd want to check that a little more closely. Looks like they came down just below by about a pip. Not very convincing to me, which could lead to another opportunity for price to come down one more time. We'll see. We'll see what they want to do there. We're going to find out. Crude oil inventory numbers are coming out tomorrow, so we could see that move, that potentially maybe a false move higher, break higher, and then a run lower to some sort of reduced price from current levels. So we'll see. I'm just gonna sit and watch crude oil. Anyways, copper's starting to make an interesting move. Going to be looking at this level in here to see a willingness to trade through that. If we see a willingness to trade through, then it's going to negate my idea. I'm kind of thinking long on crude personally, and it left in these equal highs up here for a reason. It left in these equal lows down here for a reason. Left in these equal lows here for a reason, only for them to come down and drive price through it and take out all the liquidity, and it reloaded off of a very logical area, came down, drove up. So what I'm looking for here basically is to find out if we're going to be doing a failure swing. I kind of alluded to this a little bit. I may not have talked about this in the recording. I can't quite remember, but I definitely know I talked about this last week. I'm waiting for confirmation on the failure swing. So if price runs up here, rejects, comes back down, and then fails to get lower than this candle, we'll be looking at getting into a long position and potentially holding out for higher prices. I definitely would be taking some off at this $2.91 level here, $2.91, which is basically the old lows in here. I'd definitely be, if I got low, or if I got long down in here, I'd definitely be taking some off of that level there, and then I would leave a little bit on to see if we would get a higher trade up into here. That's, long term. We wouldn't have to worry about that now, but right now I'm looking for a move down and then a false break lower to run to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at on copper. Really nothing else in commodities that I'm too interested in. Nat gas, other than nat gas, and I'm just looking for one more drive lower on nat gas, and we could be picking up some longs there. Bitcoin, chopping sideways, doing nothing. It's kind of like the crude oil market. Look at this thing. Just gappy, choppy, sideways action. Nothing much happening here. You can see, and it's been in this range now for a pretty long time, since the start of June. It gapped down, and it hasn't been able to close that gap in since. So I was looking for a run higher on this one here, but so far it hasn't given it. Hasn't given it up yet. So we'll see what it wants to do. Ultimately, I think down is going to be the trend on this one. As you can see here, I'm predicting further continuation of the downside for crypto. So we'll see how that pans out. But nothing to talk about here, folks. Nothing exciting. So, anyway, that's about it. I don't really have anything else to talk about here. I think you guys understand my ideas fairly well, and feel free to fade me if you'd like. I don't have any qualms about that. I have been wrong in the past. I'm going to be wrong in the future, but I think I'm fairly accurate on what's about to transpire here this week. So I'm going to be watching pretty closely. If I see something else otherwise panning out, then I will certainly jump on and let all our members know ahead of time, and you can obviously take advantage of that, but we were just going to kind of watch this pan out and see how it goes. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. I've got the chat window open here so I can answer any questions for you guys quickly. And if not, then I hope you guys have a great Tuesday, the July 10th. Hope you guys are all having a great summer so far, just the start of summer. You know, and just keep in mind that as well too, in terms of trading, I tend to keep it fairly light in the summer. A lot of big money moves to the sidelines in the summer for obvious reasons. You've probably all heard the mantra, you know, sell in May and go away, and you know, come back in September. And that's also true for the Forex markets. Yes, you get a lot of liquidity, and I mean, you're never going to have any issues with that. But I just, you know, sometimes moves can be a little bit unpredictable in the summer months, and they're a little bit more fluid. They have a little more fluidity and continuity to it in the fall. So I tend to keep the trading fairly late in the summer months, and then pick it up again in the fall as well. So just kind of a good practice to observe. Same thing with stocks and everything else. Just the summer months, I mean, everyone's kids are at home and people take vacations, and a lot of money just sort of sits on the sidelines until things pick up again in the fall. So, you know, just keep that in mind, guys. But anyway, with that, I don't think there are any questions that I see. So, yeah. That's about it. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys have a great Tuesday. And Dave will be back Wednesday morning trading the New York Open. Dave's been crushing it, by the way. I'll just maybe show you guys this here. He had a 500 pip move on the S&P market last week. It was a monster move. He got in down on the lows. I believe it was these lows down here. He got in at basically, yeah, it was about 2,700 level, just a little bit above 2,700. He got in, and he ended up getting out just on this market drive higher right here on Friday. He didn't want to hold over the weekend, and he got out somewhere near the top of that candle right there, and it was a monster trade. It was literally a 500 pip trade. So if you guys were part of our membership group and you took advantage of that and you got that signal, kudos to you, because you probably literally made your entire summer's trading haul all in one trade right there. So congratulations. It was a big move, and I hope you guys got part of it as we did as well. So anyway, with that, I'm going to leave you. Thank you very much for your time again, and we will catch up to you. I'll have, like I say, Dave will be back on Wednesday, and then I'll be back on Thursday to do, you know what, let me just look at Thursday's trading. Lots of news in here at 8:30 a.m. So more than likely I'll probably be trading the New York Open session on Thursday. So I'll keep you apprised of that as it comes, and I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll catch up to you on Thursday. Take care.